So we will have a debit to bad debt expense, and we will have a credit to allowance for doubtful accounts. This will, of course, be the process of filling up a bucket of water. And by doing this, within the same time period, sales revenues are made, we will get everything matching up nicely. The bad debt is recognized in the same time period as the revenues are earned, which agrees with the matching principle. So the question is, how much should this debit and credit be? So looking at our information, we have $10,000 of net credit sales, and we have a historic rate of 2%. Therefore, we'll have $200. Now, the interesting thing about this method is that we're not concerned with what's already sitting in the EFTA account. So you'll note up here it says we have a credit balance of $50. So that means there's $50 worth of water already in the bucket. However, under this method and this method only, we're not concerned with what's already sitting in the bucket. When you go 2% times $10,000, we're assuming that 2% of the sales, or net credit sales that is, in this current quarter will end up as bad debt. So that $50 for all intents and purposes belongs to sales that happened earlier, which the customer might not have defaulted on just yet. So if you have a look here at the T account, we have AR of 10,000. These are the sales on account, of which none have been collected. And we have our EFTA. This is a contra account to AR. We had 50 to start with. We make our $200 adjustment up here. And therefore we have a credit balance sitting in here of 250. So to figure out what our net AR is, we're just taking 10,000 debit minus 250 credit, and we're getting $9,750 debit balance, of course, as our net AR. Now, the book has a reasonable bad debt expense of $200 for the year. I think I said quarter a little bit earlier, so ignore that. This is for the entire year. The net AR balance of $9,750 is reported on the year-end balance sheet. Let's jump into the next method. This is aging of AR. This method is called a balance sheet approach since it focuses on accounts receivable. Under the aging of AR method, the customer account are grouped by how long the amounts due have been outstanding. This is done via an aging schedule. So if you look at the schedule here, we have 5 customers, or actually 5 categories. The last one is a mix. So what we're doing here is just keeping track of how old each balance is and tying it to not only a specific customer, but a range of days, right? So the idea here is the newer a balance is, the less likely you're going to have trouble with it. As balances get older, it becomes more and more likely that you won't be able to collect. So we start with a small rate here of 1%, and we progress to 75% or 90 plus days. The good news is as we get to the older balances, the amounts are smaller. That's a good sign for us. So looking at the 1 to 30-day range, we have Ellie Harper. She owes us $1,500. We have Ken. He owes us 500. We have other of 4,000. So in total, $6,000 are owed. The next set here, between 1 month and 2 months, we have 2,000 for Ken and 800 for other. Then we have 61 to 90 days, 600 for Olivia, 500 for other, and finally 90 plus days, 50 and 50. The last column here, it sums up everything you see just by adding across. So over here we can see we expect to collect $10,000 at this moment in time, but that's assuming that every single dollar gets collected. We're not going to assume that. We're going to have the rates here, 4 different rates, and what we're doing, we're just multiplying the amount in each set, the total amount, times the rate. So in this case, it'll be 6,000 times 1%. So we'll go over this in a couple minutes here in the same video. Try just adding the balances you get across and seeing how much should be in the AFDA. So the number you should have gotten is 60 for 1 to 30 days, 56 for 31 to 60 days, and 55 for 61 to 90 days. And finally, 90 plus days, 75. When you add your way across to figure out the EFTA under this method, you should get 246. So that's your number, which should be in the AFDA account based on aging. Note that all of these rates are typically based on historical experience. So if you notice one of these columns is off, you would likely change the rate. It can either go up or down, but the goal is to get the most accurate number possible. And it's not necessarily the most accurate number in one given reporting period, but rather long term. Over the long haul, if you can use this as a good estimating tool for bad debt expense, you're doing well. But again, it might not be the best method for you. You can also use one of the other two methods. From the aging schedule, we can see that the bookstore is owed $10,000, but only expects to collect $9,754. which is 10,000 minus 246. Again, 246 is the amount which should be in a bucket of water for AFTA. Note that the estimated percent uncollectible increases as outstanding balances get older. Once again, let's assume there's a $50 in the AFTA. Under this method, we take the current balance of the allowance into account. That is, the aging schedule tells us what the allowance balance should be. Here's how we determine the amount of a journal entry. So this aging method told us that we needed 246. We already have 50, so we can take that off. So we need an adjusting entry of 196. So once again, have a crack at the journal entry and try filling this in down here, and we'll continue in the next video.